today?
I'm good. It's good to see you, my bro.
Nice to
Real
see
good
you.
to see you. What a great t-shirt as well.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Roger.
Yeah, nice work.
Yeah, you can't.
I expect high standards of this kind of thing from you.
I'm glad I'm glad I made the cut. I mean, I'm glad, you know what I mean. Let me start by saying I love the movie. It's so good. I would imagine when you get, and let's talk about your character for a second. I would imagine you're reading it on the script and they're describing it, but there has to be a lot of imagination as to what this thing's going to finally look like. What was it like the first time you see the finished film? Because the visual effects are crazy.
Dude, yesterday was the first time I saw it at the premiere. It was a trip. It was amazing, you know, especially watching it in Dolby, IMAX and all of that with the 3D glasses. It was phenomenal. What we're talking about here is like the forefront of science and technology blurred with, you know, hopefully a deep, you know, an emotionally honest narrative, you know. That's what Robert does so well, blurring the two. But yeah, it was amazing to watch it, you know. Every movie you do is like that somewhat, you know. Even if we're doing a little art house movie, you know, I'm there in the scene, you know, we're playing out this scene. You don't know how it's gonna look, how they're gonna score it, how they're gonna cut it, you know. This is a kind of more explicit version of that unknown, but it's always unknown, you know. It's always the unknown, and so it's always a trip to see it.
The look of your character, you're one of the few that there's a lot of machine. Just talk a little bit about the look of your character and what maybe you responded or what you loved about it.
I just think this idea that you've got a cyborg that's like really vain, you know, and has this face put on top, human face put on top of his metal body and such, and that has spent all of his money on decorated, you know. But I just think that was just so appealing. It's such a kind of delicious role, you know, a delicious proposition, you know, to take on. When I Skyped with Robert the first time, I was doing a movie, I was out in Belgrade, and he was like, dude, your character is the most badass looking character in the movie. And I was like, the most badass man on the planet is telling me that I'm gonna be badass. I was just like, this is just the coolest thing ever. You know, Robert Rodriguez, man, my hero. And he was true to his word.
One of the things about this is that I'm not the biggest fan of 3D, but the 3D in this is exceptional.
Me too.
Talk a little bit about how you filmed it, because I believe it was all filmed in 3D.
Yeah.
And the fact that you should see this in 3D.
100%. I am not a fan of 3D. I got halfway through yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I don't have a headache. You know, these glasses aren't hurting my head, and I'm not even noticing that this is in 3D, you know. I suppose technology has just come around, you know, this is what we've been waiting for. You know, I always loved the idea of 3D, but the reality of it, you know, I think it makes it 40% darker usually as well. These things are just, you know, it's not fair on the DP or the gaffer and all that when these kind of conversions are happening. But this is, it's phenomenal, you know, and I think there's 1,500 CGI shots in this movie. You know, it's a smorgasbord of beautiful, amazing aesthetics that just takes you on a visual roller coaster.
Talk a little bit about, one of the things I also respond to with this movie is just the world. It's
Yeah.
a cool world, and it feels like it's lived in, and there's these practical sets with these massive establishing shots. Talk a little bit about the world and maybe what you responded to or dug about it.
I responded to the fact it's so multicultural, you know. I love this notion. Well, I don't love, I love the fact that it's so colourful. It represents, you know, my community back in London more than I see on screen, you know, to have every colour under the sun coexisting together. It's kind of sad and reflective of real life that, you know, these are the shunted people, the forgotten people, the have-nots, you know, with this great economic disparity of the two levels, you know, and obviously that's very relevant to the uneven distribution of wealth that we have in America, Britain, and all over the world. But to go back to like the experience of being there on set, like it was amazing to have such a physical set. You know, I didn't feel like I was making some big CGI movie while I was doing it. I was acting opposite real people, looking in their eyes. You know, the set was physical. There was all the human extras and such. I didn't do one shot on blue screen. So in that way, Robert was able to focus on the emotion, focus on the narrative, and not just get lost in the scope of it, you know, and then where to just enhance that digitally afterwards. And hopefully what we've done is made something that's a marvel to look at, but is also emotionally rooted.
100%. Before I run out of time, I totally have to ask you, I believe you got to work with Roland Emmerich.
Yeah, man.
Right. What the hell is that like?
Yeah, I'm going to see him today.
He's the king of making these epic summer big movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like he's done a few.
Yeah, I mean, you learn something from every director that you work with, and like I learned a lot from Roland. I shot a short film last year that I wrote, and it was the first thing I directed, and it's something I enjoyed incredibly. And now I begin to watch these filmmakers from a different point of view, and to see how assured he is, to see how focused he is on the tiniest little things. You know, he's got these 270 extras, big crane shots, all this epic stuff, and then he'll come in and just move one glass and go, let's go again. And you know, he's just got such an attention and eye for detail, you know, and he truly knows the epic. He's a master of the epic.
Well, talk a little, because it's you're doing Midway.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you play in that? What's the film about?
The film is about the Battle of Midway, which is a very decisive battle in American naval history, therefore American military history, and therefore World War II. The way that World War II panned out. So, and I play a dive bomber. It was an amazing experience. And you know, the thing I love about these jobs is I get to explore and go into other worlds. So at certain points, like when something like Deadpool comes along, it's like not another world for me. I've lived in that world since I was a kid, the world of comics and all of this. Now, a world like this is something I haven't, you know, in our schools, we weren't taught about the Battle of Midway, you know. Even the American approach to nationalism and military, you know, the pride and feelings towards the military here are different from British, you know, sensibilities towards the military and whatnot. So to go over to Hawaii, to be in Pearl Harbor, to shoot in Pearl Harbor with military personnel, to spend time with historians and you know, Marines and officers, and to speak to Navy wives, you know, spend time with the children. It was an immersive and truly educational experience, you know, to read all these biographies about all of these real heroes, you know. It just serves to make you feel like even more of a little wimp, a modern little millennial wimp, which is coincidentally the same way that I feel after seeing how amazingly cool my body, my metal body, and that looks. You know, you come out and you're like, yeah, I'm a bit of a letdown. But no, I'm excited. I'm seeing Roland this evening, you know, and I look forward to seeing how Midway turns out.